While swimming ashore on a recent snorkelling swim at Sheringham, I stumbled upon the remnants of an old shipwreck. I filmed the extensive wreck as I swam along the length of the various rusting fragments, riveted steel plate and wooden beams. After posting some of the photos online, it was identified by local fishermen and historians as the SS Commodore, a huge 220-foot steel ship, steam-powered, weighing 882 tons with a cargo of coal. She ran aground at Skelding Hill, Sheringham on the 7th of November 1896, and the town's lifeboat, the Ramey Upcher, was called out in a gale to rescue the 14 crew on board. The wreck has occasionally been seen poking out of the sand on a low spring tide, but due to the recent scouring effects of the tide, the sand has been taken away and much more of the wreck was visible. The following is from a news article at the time. Our Sheringham correspondent telegraphs on Sunday. SS Commodore, Captain Nedden, 546 tons register is ashore here. The weather is bad and the sea is very high. The crew of 14 were rescued by the lifeboat Ramey Upcher. The vessel struck about 11 o'clock on Saturday night. The night was very dirty and thick with rain. The wind was offshore and nothing was seen to indicate danger until the ship grounded on the rocks. She was then observed by the fishermen, who at once went to her aid in small boats, the sea being smooth. About an hour after she struck, a gale of wind burst from the east-northeast, and the sea at once became rough, so that the lives of those on board were in danger. The small boats returned to the shore, leaving 3 fishermen aboard, and distress rockets were fired. The Ramey Upcher was soon afloat and went alongside the vessel and took off the crew, who had landed about 2 a.m. on Sunday. The crew were drenched. They were taken to the coffee house where they changed their clothes and hot drink and food were supplied to them. The captain stated that whereas the distance from Flamborough was 83 miles, his log showed only about 70 miles. There must have been a very strong inward current, as he had pointed a more outward course than usual. This account is supported by the fact that the 2 steamers previously grounded not far from the same spot, one on Saturday morning and the other in the evening. These got off without assistance. It is feared that the Commodore, which is half a mile to the west of Sheringham, will become a total wreck as the sea is very high. She is laden with coal. At present, a small sailing vessel is not far from the shore and is being watched carefully. She will have a difficult task to keep offshore if the wind keeps on, but it is thought she will probably keep clear of the main if her sails stand. The SS Commodore, which ran ashore on Saturday night, became a total wreck on Sunday evening. The gale increased on Sunday, and when the flood tide made up, the sea became very rough and broke over the unfortunate vessel, and she speedily went to pieces. She presented a sorry spectacle on Monday lying on the sands. At low water she was almost dry, and crowds of people came to see her, carting home pieces of the wreckage. The cargo, which consisted of gas coal, was all lost. Some of the stores were salved. The vessel had been bound from Newcastle to London. The crew left for their homes by the 11:23 train on Monday. The captain, however, stayed behind. During Monday, the Newcastle steamer Commodore stranded at Sheringham, filled and sank. She has sustained heavy damage whilst laying on the beach, and now lies split in 2. The owners, Messrs. Pyman, Bell & Co., had instructed Messrs. Turrell and Torkildson of Yarmouth to act as their agent, and Mr. H.W. Turrell proceeded to Sheringham to arrange for the sale of the salved cargo. From the Memoirs of Jimmy Patchy Paris West, November 8, 1896. The SS Commodore came ashore at Skelding Hill in thick rain. The fishermen went to the ship in crab boats. When they were alongside the ship, the wind came out of the northeast and blew a gale. It became very rough. We had to get ashore where we could in the little boats. The fishermen would have taken the crew out, but the captain would not leave his ship in a hurry. 3 fishermen were left in the ship with the crew, and when all the boats left, the captain turned frightened and sent up rockets. The lifeboat had to be launched. There was 33 in the crew of the lifeboat, 14 crew from the ship and 3 fishermen, and all had to be landed in the dark. The lifeboat was the Ramey Upcher. The following is a report in the Norfolk Chronicle on Saturday the 3rd of October 1903, with the title Wreck Blown Up. On Tuesday, the wreck of the SS Commodore, which ran ashore upon Sheringham Beach some 6 years ago, was blown up. The wreck was taken in hand by the Trinity officials, who commenced operations upon her on Friday last, and by Tuesday they were complete as to charging, etc. A little before noon the first explosion took place, the charge being fired by electric battery from the shore. The result was a huge column of water that shot into the air. The explosion was followed at intervals of about 10 minutes by 5 or 6 others. The Trinity steamer sailed on Wednesday afternoon. The work has been successful, as there is left hardly a vestige of the wreck. Swimming alone around the wreckage of the boat in the fairly murky water was fascinating, but quite eerie, and amazing to think she had lain here for 125 years. I don't know how long the wreck will be uncovered by the sand for, and with the autumn weather now coming, it's unlikely the visibility will be like this again until next summer, so I feel very lucky to have been able to see and record the wreck of the SS Commodore. A reminder of the treacherous hazards these shores used to present to shipping, before the advent of the technology we take for granted today. Although in shallow water the wreck had become an artificial reef for smaller fish and crabs, with a number of common prawns seeking shelter under one of the larger ledges. With the autumn and winter storms soon to be upon us, the sea life will move into deeper water, leaving the Commodore to face the elements once again.